Penguin, would you like to do the honors and introduce these two players for map number 1 of this best of 7?
In the bottom left spawn location of Yonsu, we have our red Protoss player playing for TT Esports. It is WhiteRa. And in the top right spawn location, we have his opponent, the blue Zerg player playing for Team Liquid. It is Rhett. And apparently, this is the 11-year anniversary of when they first played, and these guys really have been around forever, Madals.
11 years of the first time they ever played to the day, or just
I'm not 100%
roughly?
sure, I'm just going off the in-game chat.
If it is to the day, that would be absolutely awesome, and would make me a very, very happy caster. But for the moment, we're just keeping a closer eye on what these two are doing. They've chosen the trolliest colours, it would seem.
Well, we do have a gateway first coming out of WhiteRa, which is the first notable thing. Obviously, there are gateway expands and Nexus or Forge expands that you can see out of Protoss players versus Zerg generally, and we are going to be seeing the gateway variation. It is more common nowadays, especially on two-player maps like Yonsu, and this can really lead into a myriad of builds that WhiteRa can go for, and a lot of it's going to come down to whether he takes 1 gas or 2 gas, and he is the kind of guy who, it wouldn't surprise me if he went for some 4-gate pressure.
And 4-gate pressure can be with just pure zealots, or it can be with additional tech units such as stalkers and sentries in there. A lot of that decision comes down to whether or not the second gas is taken, and most likely that's something that Rhett will be trying to keep a close little eye on. So keeping a good look at everything Rhett's going to be throwing down. He's adding in his spawning pool first, not playing too greedy. Up against a gateway expand, you do sometimes see hatch pool, but Red has no way of knowing what WhiteRa is currently going for, and Yonsu is a map where Forge fast expansion can be possible.
Yeah, and well, Rhett's gonna know in just a second what he's up against, as he does have the Overlord poking on forward towards that natural expansion. Sees the pylon, sees the lack of a Forge, he will know it is in fact gateway. Only 1 gas so far, so if WhiteRa does stick on this gas, it will almost definitely be 4-gate Zealot pressure. And, well, Rhett, he's gonna have to try to identify that, but for now, WhiteRa is just going to be going for a 3-minute 40 Nexus, canceling the Zealot there just to make sure he can get that out an additional 20 seconds earlier. And from here, Rhett's just going to continue droning on up. A couple of Lings coming out just to scout, but he's also gasless, so he's not going to be going for any kind of early speed or anything like that.
And this usually leads into Rhett taking a relatively fast third hatchery if you don't see any gases, because he's going to be banking up a lot of minerals due to not having anything else really to spend it on, and all of his drones currently mining minerals. 2 Lings also making their way across the map for the moment, and this could lead to some very fun times, because 2 Lings can just be a little bit irritating, especially since WhiteRa did skip the Zealot. He will have a Stalker chrono boosted out in time, but the 2 Lings going to be able to get in and get a full scout down.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty important. He will be able to identify that the second gas has in fact gone down. It only started mining just a couple of seconds ago, and he's going to go for a probe, but he should not get one. That would take a little bit of miscontrol out of WhiteRa, and WhiteRa going to be on point with that Stalker control. 1 of the Lings goes down, second Ling will go down as well. So, Rhett knows what's going on. That wasn't a hefty investment or anything like that. Perfectly fine for him. Going up to 4 Queens as well, just to make sure that he can get some good creep spread going on. And, well, as you said, I wouldn't be too shocked to see a third base coming out by around the 6-minute, 6:30 mark.
Still no sign of any gas, as you mentioned there. The Queen count currently going up to 3. There is a 4th one in production as well, so going quite Queen heavy. This is going to help Red defend and force back the Mothership core, force back these 2 Stalkers, while not having to spare any lava on making Lings. He is opting to get 4 out though. Having seen the fact that 2 Stalkers are on their way, it's a safe move to make. He doesn't want to risk being underprepared for this little bit of pressure, and that's really quite smart by Red.
Meanwhile, we do see WhiteRa going up to 3 gateways and a Forge, which is not too unstandard off of that second gas. This will be for +1. I'm not too fond of that Forge positioning, to be completely honest, because the Forge is a very critical building, and there can be a lot of surface area gotten on that Forge by Lings or Roaches, but for now, a couple of Stalkers coming on home just to make sure that these Lings don't get in. +1 going to be starting on up, and now I'm going to be very interested to see what the tech choice of WhiteRa is going to be. I would assume most likely Robo, but it's also possible to see a Twilight Council come out here.
Keep a close eye on that. Meanwhile, over at Red Space, he's adding in that Roach War on there. He's got his first 2 gases up, with the 3rd and 4th also now started, and his 3rd base itself is also got on its way. So creep spread is now the next thing that Red is really going to be trying to push on out. He wants to join up these bases, start covering the map. And Yonsu is actually quite an easy map to get good creep spread on. Because of the different attack paths, you can spread it across nicely, secure up potential 4th bases with creep nice and early on as a Zerg player, and that's definitely something that Red's going to be gunning towards.
Yeah, he does have Ling speed starting out now, so he will potentially be going into a Zerking-based composition later, but for now the Roach Warren's finished up, and only one Evolution Chamber, 99% of the time, will mean that it's going to be for +1 range. Generally, if you're going for melee upgrades, you'll go for the double upgrades, because it's very important to have the armor as well as the melee attack. But you do have 7 Roaches and about 8 Lings on the way as well, so this could be for a bit of pressure. That's a very fast 3rd base that we have coming down from WhiteRa, and Ret may look to punish that. It's going to be... These are still a low enough number of units that it could be defensive, but if he makes any more, he'll almost definitely be trying to deny the 3rd, but he hasn't scouted the 3rd just yet.
Yeah, and that was one thing I was just taking a quick little look at, is that there's no information about that 3rd, so these units aren't to go and push out against that, unless, of course, Red has seen something that has given the game away. He's also adding in his infestation pit back at home. WhiteRa is doing a very good job scouting with frequent hallucinated Phoenix. +1 ground weapons, as we can see on the right of the screen here, is about to kick in, and that should be engaged before Red actually moves forward with these small groups of units, so he should have no problem defending this 3rd base at the moment.
Yeah, Red's not committing all too much to this. He's going to be going Roach focus for now, but he's going to be going into Swarm Host almost definitely. A little bit of an engagement coming down here as the Roaches do get to focus down a couple of the expensive units. 2 of the sentries are... No, only 1 sentry going down. One of these Stalkers also already went down. Looks like the rest will survive. One of them getting pretty low also will go down. Overall, not a horrible trade for Red. Not as bad as it could have been, but still a good trade for WhiteRa there. And there we go, the Enduring Locusts. And the Swarm Host transition, very solid on this map. And it's pretty easy to tell it's going to be Swarm Host, as there's no Hydra Den, so it's not going to be for a fast Hive. It wouldn't have been for a fast Hive. And you wouldn't be going Infestors unless you were going for melee upgrades to go to the Ultralisk. And now we have another engagement here, and wow, this is actually doing much better for Red. He picks up another sentry.
And the reason he's able to get so much damage down is because there's a complete lack of any Zealots in the composition for WhiteRa. And as such, his army is very vulnerable to Speedlings, even though they're not actually having any upgrades other than speed. +1 missile attack is just about to kick in for Red here, whereas for WhiteRa, he hasn't continued on with any further upgrades other than just that +1 ground weapons that he completed a couple of minutes ago.
We do have 2 robotic space coming out of WhiteRa. That's definitely a mistake. He will be getting Colossi out, and generally, if you see Colossi against Swarm Host composition, you can play passive Colossus style while you tech to air, but a lot of the time it will be for a timing push. We have another engagement coming down here, though, and the Ling's getting through once again. This is going very well for Red here, and this is actually very unfortunate for WhiteRa. He's going to lose all of his sentries. He's not recalling Madals.
This is a problem. The Immortal is going to get taken down. There's the recall, but it is somewhat late. Very problematic there for WhiteRa, as he loses a significant amount of gas very early on in this game. In total, he's lost about 850 Vespian just from losing the odd sentry and that Immortal there. Not something that he really wants.
Not at all, and now there's no sentry here to force field this ramp. The Roaches are going to get on in, and that's very unfortunate for WhiteRa. Once again, the Roach is going to be able to wander into the main here. More Lings coming in to reinforce. The Stalkers are going to be held position there to hold off this attack, but that means that those Stalkers are not in the main engaging the Roaches, and so much damage is being dealt here by Ret. WhiteRa taking a bit of a heavy blow to his economy. Overcharge will be able to ward those Roaches away, though.
Meanwhile, WhiteRa is going for some counter-aggression. A War Prism sneaked up the right-hand side of the map, and Zealots are now in Red's main. A Queen going to die, quite a few drones getting taken down, and as you said, Overcharge has been able to force away quite a lot of these Roaches, and a Colossus and Stalkers should be able to finish off the rest. The Zealots, they're also getting cleaned up though, as Red does have some Roaches spawning, just picking them down. In total though, it was a better trade for Red, who managed to kill 11 workers compared to the 7 drones he lost to that War Prism Zealot aggression.
Another thing to consider, though, is that Ret's 4th base is significantly late, and we have another Warpin coming down here at the 3rd base. Even more workers going to be going on down. This War Prism harass has done so much damage, and Ret takes a long time to respond to that, losing already an additional 5 workers there, and WhiteRa's doing a pretty good job with this Warp Prism, just continuing to wreak havoc. The pylon there by the 4th base warps in 4 more Zealots, and that hatchery may well die. Roach is going to try to save it. Looks like they may be successful, but that means that those Roaches are not in the natural against the Zealots that are there.
More worker damage being done to Ret now. 18 drones in total have gone down, and as such, WhiteRa coming off a bit better. The one thing he's not going to be happy about seeing, though, is the fact that there is a lot of locusts making their way across. 11 swarm hosts, now 10 as 1 suicides up into WhiteRa's army, and as such, this is going to be a bit more challenging for WhiteRa until he gets some more splash up. But considering he's already at 2 Colossi, he's certainly getting there.
He's being very aggressive on the map, though, and this could pay off for him, but it's very, very high risk, because the 2 Colossi are nowhere near enough to prevent the Locust Waves from connecting with those Stalkers. But as long as he can avoid the Locust Waves, there is a chance that he can do some damage here, so it's all going to come down to WhiteRa's control here, and where Ret decides to rally out those Locusts. And so far, it looks like WhiteRa has been warded off, as there's a gigantic Roach run by into the 3rd. There is nothing here, Madals.
There really isn't. A big wave of warpins going to come through, but the Roaches being split. Some to the 3rd, some to the natural. This is forcing WhiteRa apart, meaning that he is guaranteed to lose quite a few workers here. Just blows on both sides throughout this map, and as such, neither player taking a firm lead. And while Ret is ahead by about 40-ish supply, that really isn't telling the whole story.
Well, we'll have to see just how far ahead he is once the damage is calculated. He does kill off a ton of workers here. Already 35 killed this game by him. The Stalkers not trading as efficiently as they could against the Roaches in the main either. A lot of those Stalkers going down, more than I think should have. WhiteRa taking critical losses, but another Warpin coming down at the 4th base of Ret. It looks like he actually may be able to pick off a couple of the Swarm Hosts here. No, not going to be able to succeed there, as, well, the Locusts come on in and clean that up. Overall, Ret does have a pretty significant economy lead here with 67 to 49 workers, while he's also up by about 60 supply.
So the problem that WhiteRa has is that he is down to just those 49 probes, and as such, he's starting to lack a little on the economy. He's attempting to make up for that, though, by continual Warp Prism harassment at the 4th base and up in the main base, and that's a nice little touch. He's also about to have Blink kick in, and that's going to help him, but his biggest concern really has to be the Locusts that are down on the ground, and also the fact that he is a little way behind in upgrades at 1-1 compared to 2-0.
Yeah, well, another big problem here for WhiteRa is that, as you mentioned, he's continuing with this great Warpin harass, and some of it is doing damage, some of it's not, but the problem is he doesn't really have the economy to have full production on his Colossus count, continuing to tech up and all that while warping in those Zealots. So he's pretty much sacrificing a little bit of his army, and he is going to try to do some damage here at the 4th base with the main army. Oh no, Sentry's cut out of position. 3 of them are going to go down for free. And, well, that is incredibly unfortunate, as in come the Corruptors to try to pick off at least some of the Colossi here, but I don't think there's enough.
There's a good number of Blinkstalkers here, not too many Corruptors, and as such, WhiteRa is able to push them away for the moment. We've got another wave of Roach harassment coming through here for Ret, though. Just sending it down, checking to see where there's a 4th. But he's about to lose his own 4th here as the Colossi, as the Stalkers, are continually chipping away at that hatchery.
Oh, but the Colossi, one of them out of position, is going to go down. He doesn't get the hatchery, losing about half of his army. This is an absolute disaster for WhiteRa, as he has units in his natural here, and I don't know if he has enough units to really deal with this before catastrophic damage is dealt. A lot more workers have already gone down, 46 killed this game, and Ret's just going to run into the main, and this is buying him more and more time to reposition Swarm Hosts. But another Warpin of Zealots here at 3rd base of Ret, trying to do some damage. I just don't know if it's going to be enough, Madals.
Ret, he's already done such critical damage to the economy of WhiteRa. He's killed off 46 workers. Admittedly, 37 drones have gone down this game, meaning that actually Ret is only 3 ahead, but he's moving in now. A lot of Corruptors here. Corruption going down. He's focusing those Colossi. And if they fall, suddenly there is no splash damage to deal with these Locusts that are streaming on forward. The Swarm Hosts have been repositioned very nicely. And the 3rd base of WhiteRa is looking to be in some severe difficulties.
Yeah, Ret's over double supply right now, and the Stalker's going down to the Locusts here for free once again. Sentry's caught out of position for about the 5th time here, and it looks like WhiteRa's Hail Mary attempt at taking this game is going to be with some counter-aggression, moving forward with all of his Blink Stalkers, but it just should not be enough at this point. Ret is so far ahead, but we'll see what WhiteRa can do with these Stalkers. He will pick off the 4th, that's for sure. Are there units at home, though? Yeah, 13 Roaches on the way. This is looking very rough for a Ukrainian player.
The 3rd base for WhiteRa is going to go down pretty soon, and while Rhett is losing a significant amount back at home, in a straight up base race, the Roaches and the Locusts are doing a fantastic job, and as we see, with all of the swarm hosts being brought back in order to deal with these Stalkers, I just don't see there being enough here for WhiteRa.
There's not even an observer left on the map, Madals, and there's nothing to detect these swarm hosts, as WhiteRa just has no way to take this game. A full surround with Locusts and Roaches on those last Stalkers. 4 of them remain. GG is called, and Rhett will take game number 1 in this best of 7 series.